Andrew, great to see you again, mate. Thank you for popping down and jumping on the pod for episode numero 3. There's a lot more than meets the eye, especially with the new brand that you've got. So I thought best bet, dive into your background, the extensive background, what you're doing, where you've been, and then we can jump in from there.
Cool. Good to see you again, Grant. And
Thank you,
congratulations, mate.
Thank
Nothing
you, sir.
better in the world than being a new dad. So
Yeah,
that's,
thank you, sir.
That's excellent.
For anyone that doesn't know, Andrew has a cafe. It's called a door?
No, it's called Nunda Corner.
Nunda Corner, sorry. Nunda Corner, amazing coffee. He brings coffee when he meets you. Highly recommend.
So, yeah, okay, my background, I guess. I started out in high-risk finance.
Okay.
So we used to have a bit of a saying back then, if they could fog a mirror, we'd give them a loan. So it's a real high-risk stuff.
Yeah.
But it's a good place to cut your teeth and how to learn what gets paid back and what doesn't, and how those things happen. So I started in that sort of game and then got promoted through a few things and went around and then moved towns, moved states, and then came back to Queensland and then got a bit jaded with collections.
Okay. So where were you at doing that?
In Gladstone at the last, in central Queensland.
Okay.
And that's when I decided I needed a break, so I got out of finance. In actual fact, I took a job in a bank for 18 months just to round out my experience. I took a pay cut and a drop in responsibility, and all my mates thought I'd got a big promotion because I was a bank manager.
It sounds important.
It sounds much better than it really is.
Yeah.
Did my 18 months and then I left the industry and worked as a director for state development for 5 years.
Oh, cool.
Which gave me a more strategic view of economic and regional development, which was really good. And then in 2006, I decided I wanted to work for myself. Well, I'd decided well before that, but in 2006, I decided the timing was right.
Yeah, nice.
And I bought a Bank of Queensland franchise.
Cool. And that's in Gladstone?
That was in Gladstone.
Yep.
So had that for 18 and a half years.
Yeah.
Bought another one in Toowong in Brisbane about 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And then about a year ago, I bought one, the Queen Street Mall branch.
Yeah.
So we had 3 at the end. And then 1 month after we'd purchased the Queen Street Mall branch, the bank made the announcement they were going to get out of franchising and buy them all back.
Month.
Yeah.
Jeez, I didn't realise it was that close.
It was pretty stressful.
Yeah.
So they gave us 6 months' notice.
Yep.
So the end of February, we did the final cash count,
Yep.
handed the keys over, and that was it. We're out.
Yeah.
So, and then
Now, what's the new one called?
It's called Woods and Bauer Finance.
Beautiful.
My long-term commercial manager from Gladstone has come out as business partner with me in this one.
Nice.
And so we're an independent finance brokerage which focuses on commercial and self-employed. That self-employed market is our jam.
Yeah, nice. And still based in Gladstone and Brizzy.
Gladstone and Brizzy, I
Yeah,
split my
nice.
time, so I'm week about.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, good. So what was the thought process between picking up the second and third BOQ branches? Was it just opportunistic, or you saw the model really worked and it was profitable, so you just wanted to keep going?
There was 2 things really. So I had an ex-employee who was very insistent and persistent. Had rung me probably 7 or 8 times over 5 or 6 years to say, hey, let's do one together in Brisbane.
Yeah.
And I kept saying no, and then eventually I caved on that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I was ready to challenge what I'd proven to be successful in the regional sense.
Yeah, okay.
In a metro sense. And so that was, to me, then the next frontier.
Yeah, nice.
Same business, completely different outlook in a completely different location.
Yeah, different type of consumer too, I'm assuming.
Yeah, well, it was, but interestingly, the Toowong experience taught us that people in metro still value and still want the good old country style relationship banking. So there wasn't actually a change from that perspective.
Yeah, true.
So that was interesting.
I was going to say, is that something you were expecting?
No.
No, yeah.
No, it wasn't. So that was a positive experience to come out of that.
Yeah.
And then I guess a few years later, when the opportunity came up for the Queen Street Mall branch, it was like a natural progression for me then to say, well, this is the last frontier of opportunities in branches to be proving yourself.
Yeah.
So going in, chasing that professionals market, and we attacked it with different approaches. So, for example, in the mall, we realised people there's a lot of people worked there but didn't live there, so they might have been living out in all the suburbs, but they worked in the city.
Yeah.
So how do we get them to come and see us and not the local Westpac branch or CBA branch out at Forest Lake, for example?
Yeah, yeah.
And so what we did was we started opening longer hours.
Yeah. Okay.
And so the banking services were available to people before and after the normal work week.
Yeah, right.
And whilst we only had 7 months in total to prove that, it actually was working. We were getting good traction.
I was going to say the fact that you saw it working in such a short period of time as well. It's not like it needed lead time.
Yeah. It made the transition all the more hard to swallow.
Oh, I bet. Yeah, it's like I finally got it right. Why are you changing it on me?
We got one strategy right.
You think of it, there's nothing more of a pain in the ass than you're trying to do something and they're opening between 9 and 5.
Yeah.
And most people can't get there for that.
Yeah. And then when they get there in the lunch hour, they're pushed for time, and so they don't stop and think, and they don't ask the questions they really want to ask. It becomes far more transactional rather than relationship-based, which is where, hey, I'm going to add value to this for you as we go through the process.
Yeah.
But that takes time, because when you're educating someone on how something will flow through, it takes time.
Yeah, exactly. And you can really show where you're excelling for someone as well.
Yep.
As opposed to just being a ticker flick, another number.
Exactly. Yeah.
Beautiful. Well, 20 years, give or take, in business.
Yep.
Total now.
Yep.
What's the biggest lesson you've learned so far?
Well, the biggest lesson by far is don't kick the can down the road. And this covers off so many sins. Yeah. So, I mean, your listeners are going to, those who are in business are going to be thinking about their strengths and weaknesses in this space. And I can say from proven experience where I've, dusted myself up.
I was going to say that one, you went straight through me with that one, mate. Yeah.
It's like if you've got a HR issue in your team and it's not your strength. Yeah. The natural thing for a lot of people to do is to procrastinate on that and not to jump on it and deal with it. Whereas that just makes it fester and then increases the damage across the rest of the team. Yeah. So you just have to jump on it. So don't kick the can down the road on it. Yeah. Grab it, get onto it, be empathetic, be real, be genuine, but jump on it. Don't allow that to continue. Yeah. Another example of that is defining your culture. Yeah. Don't let it define itself. Yeah. Put some guardrails in place. Get the direction you want out to start with, and then fill in the blanks with the team. Yeah. So that you because you want the culture to be the central part of what you do, but you, at the same time, to get 100% buy-in from everybody, need them to have been part of the creation process. Yeah. But not the whole of the creation process, because at the end of the day, it's your business and it's your brand that's out the front when somebody rings up or sees you or sees your sign or hears about it. Yeah. So you need to make sure that fits where your vision's going. Yep. The other big one with kicking the can down the road is tax. So I've seen more businesses get into trouble from kicking the can down the road on tax than I have on any other issue. Yeah, right. I guess the easiest way to describe that is if you're having a bumper year, pay the bumper tax. Yep. If you're having a bad year, well, the tax is less. So you pay it less. Yeah. Where you get into trouble is you've had a bumper year, you kick the can down the road, then you're having a bad year and you're trying to pay the bumper year tax plus provision for the bad year. Yeah. And that puts all sorts of cash flow pressure on you, on your business. It creates all sorts of issues within your balance sheet. Yeah. With accountants who love to hide things in, Division 7A in your balance sheet and things like that. Yeah. And it doesn't help you. And then at some point you still have to unwind that.
I was going to say, for anyone that looks at it at some point, if they want to exit that business, the process of unwinding it and changing it and morphing it into what it needs to be saleable, be an absolute nightmare. I'm assuming really expensive.
Well, because it's like anything, isn't it? Yeah. It's when you're forced to sell an asset at a time not of your choosing, that's when you lock in massive capital loss. And it's no different with on your balance sheet. Yeah. You're selling right then. Well, you've got to wind that out right then, which means you've got to deal with it in today's tax. Yeah. So better to go along the way. When you're having a good year, pay the good tax.
Yeah. Cop it on the chin.
Cop it on the chin. Yeah. Smile. Say, there's
smile and grit your teeth.
There's a better hospital and a better road there.
Exactly. If it gets done.
But you're not carrying forward risk.
Yeah. And we've talked about this a lot in the past, I guess, around your investment thesis and just investing in general. And is that how you've gone into this new venture as well, really looking at it in terms of how do I keep it clean? How do I keep it, I guess, almost lean and mean, learning from things you've done in the past?
Yeah. Look, I guess with this new venture, it's two main things for me. So obviously I've gone into an area that I know a lot about, and so it's not a big leap.
Yeah.
The risk was fairly low that we were going to be able to make that work, and so far it's been really humbling. The community support's been amazing. So that's been really fantastic. But the other part of it is I take my role as a mentor really seriously.
Yeah.
And so I mentioned earlier when we started the Toowong branch, an ex-employee, so I took him on as a partner, and we did that. And so the whole fun of that journey wasn't just the challenge of accessing the metro market and learning about how to operate there, but it was also the challenge of mentoring a business partner and bringing him along on that journey.
Yeah, which is cool.
And so I've done that again here. So I've taken an employee of mine for 13 years and we said, hey, are you interested in doing this together? And he said, absolutely.
Yeah.
And so that part of that is fun as well as the actual doing of the doing.
Yeah, and that's cool. And like you said, it gives you that other element to it too, right? It doesn't, I'm assuming it saves it from almost getting a little bit mundane too. Yeah. Like you've got a different way and always different problems that you've got to come up and change and fix.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
And it's your growth as well. I mean, don't kid yourself. When you're assisting somebody else, you learn.
Yeah. Well, what do they say? The best way to learn is to teach.
Correct. Yeah.
Hopefully you know what you're talking about before you start teaching, but once you do...
Yeah, well, there's no guarantees there. So
the entertaining one way or another, that's the main part.
Exactly.
Go on. Then, so in your past, even now having multiple locations, I think probably until you get more staff with the new venture back in the BOQ days, what was the main difficulty? Was there a difficulty around management of staff across the 3 different locations, particularly with the Gladstone and the 2 Brisbane, because they are so separate? Is it something, was it basically focusing on managers now, or how do you really manage that? Because I think a lot of agents and agency owners, it's always an aspiration. You start somewhere and you go, I want to open Gold Coast, Sunny Coast, Townsville, Melbourne, Sydney, because it looks great on paper and it's some strokes that you go nicely to put 3 different cities on your email footer. Yep. But how do you go through that process and managing that?
It's actually really difficult, and I guess if I had my time again, I would say sit down and plan out what your role is going to be as you go. Yeah. Okay. Because what happens is your time as the leader gets taken away from you very quickly. So instead of, say, a staff of about 10 that I had in Gladstone taking your time up on certain things, you had another staff of 6 in Toowong doing the same, and so you kind of had a lot of your day was taken away, and so it took me a couple of years to realise that I had morphed from what I was doing into this quasi just manager / mentor. Yep. And was I okay with that? And what did that mean to the business? Yeah. And so I would say that's probably one of the biggest things, is to understand that. So with the Gladstone branch, because we'd had it so long, we had structures in place and we had long-term people in place so that I could do the travel back and forward and not be concerned about that end. Yeah. So I was fortunate in that case. Yeah. So that's probably the first thing. Get your house in order in the original one. Yeah, yeah. But then really chew down on what that's going to look like for you at the other end.
And how was that for you when you recognised that? Were you happy with what your new role was or had to be? Or
I don't think it's a matter of being happy or sad about it. It's that just the reality is this is where I am. Yeah. And that's okay. Let's push ahead with this part of it. Yeah. But then maybe put structures in place which will quarantine some of that time. Yeah. Okay. So put the right people in to and then have processes and systems for that to be dealt with. Yeah. So you're not taking all of those inquiries on. Yeah. And then you can stretch into the stuff you like. Yeah, yeah. And do that as well. So,
that's when you get your happy back.
Yeah, that's right. That's exactly right. I'm happy when I'm out talking to customers.
Yeah, and that's the hardest part, right? Like, because you find it, like, I'd say in the brokerage world, the agency world, like a lot of people that end up owning businesses, the thing that they really enjoyed about was the people side of it, like going out and meeting people, networking and building relationships. And then as you start to build the team and build the office, like you mentioned, it starts getting stripped back and back and back because you really need you have other responsibilities. Yeah. And you see people that get to the point they'll do something for a year or two and go, you know what, I actually hate this. Like I didn't get into this to do this. Yeah. I thought it was going to be great. It actually kind of sucks. And then they'll either end up bringing in a partner on the operational side, or they might even just end up getting bought out and going back to being an agent.
Yep.
Just because they enjoy it. I think that's the hard part, is recognising that and almost understanding that that's probably the path.
100%. And it's not a journey for everyone.
Yeah.
So I've got a saying that I use, is there's 2 things you can do in your life which will push you out of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
So the first one's having a family.
Yeah.
It's incredible how kids make you do stuff you don't want to do. So that's the first thing. Yep. That journey's just started.
Yeah. Learning that first out 4 weeks in. Yeah.
So that's it. But the second thing is running your own business.
Yeah.
Because it does that. It forces you down a heap of different gullies that you might not have run down, and it forces you to do things like collect money off people, which a lot of people wouldn't do in a PAYG setting.
Yeah.
So I feel like I'm lucky to have done both of those.
Yeah.
And so as a person, I know I've grown over the years and had to push through a number of these barriers as you go. There's a flip side of that too, of course, and that is you become far more aware of all these other things.
Yeah.
So
you can become a little bit more cynical. But I think you're spot on. There was actually a quote I saw the other day. Starting business is a crash course in personal development.
Yes. And you see how many businesses are out there that are fundamentally sound, but they cap out at a certain point, and that's because the owner has either deliberately or not knowingly capped out their own growth.
Yep.
And there's nothing wrong with that. That's a legitimate choice. Yeah. Like you said, an agent who's grown and been successful, but then realised that, hey, I'm tied up all day doing stuff I don't like.
Yeah.
And then reverting back to what they enjoy. Perfectly good decision to make, because at the end of the day, you've got to enjoy what you're doing.
Yeah.
If you're going to get up and get motivated by it again the next day.
100%. Yeah.
So it is a difficult but rewarding journey from the point of view of what you can get out of it.
Yeah. 100% agree. And so, what have you found the biggest difference from now having your own brand versus being under the BOQ umbrella?
The main thing is the nimbleness, the agility and speed.
Yep.
This is not a slice at big enterprise like banks, but they have an obligation to shareholders on how they spend their money and what they do, and so they put lots of processes and systems around everything to make sure that it's appropriate.
Yep.
Whereas in a small business, you're the shareholder and the director and everyone else, and so you can make those decisions really quickly. Yeah. And it's actually one of the things I love the most about being in business, is if you decide to run down that path, it's on
your
you.
Choice. Yeah, for better or worse.
And why hold the decision up?
Yeah.
Get on with it and go and have a crack.
Yep.
And I guess that's part of that. I don't want to get to 70 or 80 and be talking to my grandkids one day and say, oh, I wish I'd have had a go.
Yeah, 100%. Because you hear that and you go, well, especially the people that were business owners, there's nothing stopping you.
No.
Did you find when you're at BOQ, the framework helped you early on in terms of owning a business?
There's a lot of benefits of a franchise system.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that come with that. So, for instance, when COVID hit, we instantly had all of the collateral we needed to tell customers, to show the staff how to cope with and deal with what we were going to have to deal with. We already had boxes of hand sanitizer turning up in each branch and all this sort of stuff. So that's a benefit of a franchise, and a really positive thing for us to cope with a pandemic that was all very uncertain. And that enabled me to spend, the first 2 weeks was just full on the phone, all my business customers, because they were all really concerned about where things were going to land. Yeah. And so that enabled us, having the franchise behind us, enabled us to focus on the clients, which is a perfect outcome for everyone, really.
Yeah, 100% agree,
So I'd say that's one of the big positives.
Yep.
And one of the negatives is, every time I wanted to run a new marketing campaign, I had to send it in through a 20-year-old who was a gatekeeper and was going to tell me how to do it or not do it.
Yeah, because, mate, you're spot on. Because for us, for example, being an independent straight out of the bat, we've got the new anti-money laundering laws coming in on us next year.
Yep.
I'm starting from scratch.
Yep.
I know people that are in franchise and we've already got the framework sent to us. Yeah, I'm starting from scratch. But like you said, on the marketing and the advertising side, I can spin around there and do what I want, and it'll be out that afternoon.
Yes.
Once again, for better or worse, but at least you do get that creative freedom. But it is interesting because you do see, depending on what people value, they definitely have their place. People shit on them to a degree, but it is a great spot for a lot of people. You
Oh,
do learn a
100%.
lot of things out of it.
Yeah. And it's just a question for you as the business owner is what's it worth?
Yeah, exactly.
What's it worth to me?
Yeah.
Do I give away 10% of my income and have all this other support?
Yep.
Or do I forge my own path and know that I've got additional work and potentially risk
Yeah.
that you're taking on?
Yeah. Did you find there was a threshold as the businesses grew where that, like, let's pick 10% as a number, that 10% starts to become a point where you go, I feel like I'm paying too much for this now? Because I think there's sometimes you see in the franchise models or even agents, they get to a point where you're getting value, and there's a tipping point where you almost go, I'm paying way too much for what I'm getting back now. And that's where you start to see a little bit of friction come in. Was there ever a point for you?
I think there probably was, although it's a little bit different in a banking environment because there's things that I couldn't do independently.
Yeah.
So I couldn't fund a loan book.
Yep.
So I had a partner that I needed if I was going to play that way.
Yep.
Whereas now in the broking space, I'm not in that position.
Right.
So I can do it how I want, where I want.
Yep.
So it's kind of a little bit different. But yes, I think you're right. There is a point where you learn to a point where you've probably got to the point where you're going, well, the value I'm getting out of this now is way less than what it was at the beginning.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to reassess that.
Yeah.
But I would have said that's a natural progression of business growth.
Growth of business. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Well, now talking about your day-to-day now.
Yeah.
So you get a fair bit of exposure to regional markets.
Yes.
I think it's an interesting space in general, and from my opinion, particularly from the commercial market. So I think there's value in regional areas as long as there's underpinning value or underlying value in the areas. Are you starting to see more inquiry coming through to those spaces, especially everyone's talking about housing shortages and as business and the economic boom is kind of going all up the eastern seaboard? Are you starting to see more inquiries coming through? And
definitely are. It's an interesting space though, and I'd just be a little cautious with people because it might appear attractive. Because compared to the metro, say for instance, you might be buying something at a multiple of 6 down here, whereas in a regional area that might be 8.5, 9, and so your return looks a lot better. But it is a much smaller market, and so there are other risks which go with that. So
agreed.
I would say with that, absolutely, like any investment, check it out, have a look at it, get a good handle on it, but understand the market that you're going into. And one of the great ways to do that is to talk to bankers because they have risk-based policies which fit different areas.
I was going to say, you're really at the coalface for a lot of businesses too, which is really, if you're buying a commercial investment, you're buying the lease in place for all intents and purposes, which means shit all if the guy can't pay the rent.
Correct.
Yeah, true. I never thought of it that way.
Well, one of the better ways to look at it is this asset that I'm buying, how saleable is it? Because that's the risk piece. So the obvious thing is if you're buying a house in a metro area, the size of the market that might be prepared to buy that is huge. If you're buying an industrial shed out near the port in Brisbane, the size of the market capable and prepared to look at that sort of investment is much smaller. Then if you take that same setting into a regional centre, it's smaller again. So the size of the market capable and interested in buying that particular thing. And that's why you see, if someone's built an octagon's shaped house, it'll often take a 9-month sale period compared to standard,
Exactly, and because we talk about it similar, we talk about it from the tenant pool, like how deep's your tenant pool if you're going to go buy, like you said, and let's say a medical building in Metro Brisbane. The tenant pool of people that will want to backfill that after that tenant leaves at some point, it's probably pretty high. If you've got 2,000 square metres of office, 30 k's outside of Gladstone, how many people can take that space? Pretty bloody small. So it's really picking that basis as well, because you're spot on. It's one, who can buy it, but also who, if you want to hold it for the long term, who's your next tenant going to be? Because this one will leave at some point, generally speaking.
And that's a good point too, is that everybody, when they're investing, is investing for different reasons. And so what starts out a particular way doesn't always finish that way. And in terms of strategies, I've seen both, where I've had customers who've had a very long-term focus and have got in and built a commercial portfolio over a long period of time, invested as they went in maintaining the quality of those assets so that they were always attracting the best tenants. And then I've seen others who've sort of, right, I see an opportunity here to make a quick buck in 5 years. I'm going to get in, dust this off, get some tenants in there, and 3 years later flip it.
Yeah, yep.
And both strategies can work and both can fail.
Yeah.
It's the mindset of the individual has to be, they have to be aware.
Yeah, they've got to understand their own risk appetite
Correct.
to a degree.
Yes,
yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
Beautiful. So where are you seeing the market heading now? What's your gut feel on it all?
Well, I think there's a bit of a shakeout. So since COVID, we haven't really seen the full impact yet in the office space market, especially in the CBD.
Yeah.
Regional centres, that's been less impacted because you don't have such a massive commute to work. So when I'm in Gladstone, it takes me 4 minutes to get to work.
You're not finding a massive traffic here to get there.
And it's only if I catch both red lights. So, it's kind of like, it's a different sort of kettle of fish. So to jump in your car and drive 10 minutes to get to work's no biggie.
Yeah.
But in the metro areas, some people are commuting 50 minutes an hour each way. Yeah. Then a work from home makes a lot of sense, and it's great for the family. It's great for a whole heap of other reasons, but that has an impact, and you'll see it now. You can start to see some of these larger businesses that are giving away floors. Yeah. So they might have had 5 floors in a building in Newstead, and now they're down to 3. Yeah. And so, as those leases wind out, I guess we'll start to see how creative the landlords become. Yeah, great. As to how they move that property on, but that's a change. That's a shift, and so where that lands, we're not sure. Yeah. But of course, the immediate response from all the banks is to put that kind of property on a watch list.
Right.
Because you want to be careful about what your exposure is to that particular market. Whereas pre-COVID, you probably weren't even thinking like that. Yeah. It was. Yeah, no, you're spot on. Because I'll tell you, we're even seeing it with valuers on deals. They're far more stringent than what they were a few years ago. Yeah. Where it was almost like, depending on what it was, for commercial, you could even get some desktops. And now they're coming through with the laser pointers and making sure that the GFA is correct. And hey, can I go through the lease and fine tooth comb? So, and that would be instructed from the banks to make sure that they are doing that, I dare say. Yeah, absolutely. It's a critical piece. And then the other part of that is the flow-on effect. So if you think about the offices, it's not just the landlords that are impacted in that space. It's all the little businesses that are set up in the CBD that survive around that. So all your little hospitality businesses, all of a sudden you've got a customer base of 3,000 in the offices surrounding you down to 1,500. Yeah. That's going to have an impact. Yeah. If you're a retailer in the clothing space or the even just I'm trying to think office goods and things like that. That changes. Yeah. Just because you've got this massive change in the people, but then you've also got the impact on we've spoken about the commercial property, but also the resi property. So, so people who found the CBD attractive to move to might not need to now because they can do 3 days work from home and have a nice place with a yard. Yeah. Out in the burbs. That's it. Well, and you're seeing suburbs that you never even dream of cracking that $1 million mark. Like there was a house at 600 square metre block with a 70s house in Woodridge that went for 980. And you go, back in the day, although 40 years ago, like you wouldn't even dream of suburbs hitting like that. But now it's just, and probably for that very reason, people pushing further and further out, knowing that they don't need to come inside now. Yep. And out of that, there's opportunities. Yeah. So if you have the hospitality business in CBD, you're probably struggling a bit because you've got half the clients you used to have coming in on a regular basis. But if you had a hospitality business in the suburbs, you might be picking up a bit because those people who are working from home might still like to pop out and get their favourite cup of coffee and a croissant or something on the way. Yeah. So there's opportunities in that space, and I think savvy commercial investors are going to be looking to see where those markets are and where they can play. And I think even with everyone's talking about the Olympics, I think it's not necessarily where the main stadiums or anything will be. It's just where the infrastructure builds out. Yep. Because if you start sitting somewhere where there's never been a train line, now there's a train line, all of a sudden it's a far more attractive place for people to live. Absolutely. Yeah. Definitely. Beautiful. Mate, was there anything else you want to touch on? I don't think so. I think you knocked it out of the park from my side. So. Well, I think probably the only other thing was just some of the things that I'm seeing in the finance market. Yeah, perfect. Yeah. That's interesting. So specialisation is coming through, which is interesting. So I'll pick on self-managed super funds, which a lot of people like to get into that commercial market through a self-managed super fund. And what we're seeing is that over the last 5-6 years, the banks have been slowly withdrawing from that market. Yeah. And so what's happened is there's some other lenders who've come through and created products specifically to chase that market down. And so that's really cool. So what's happening is we're getting innovation with that. So it's not just about being able to purchase a commercial property, but they're providing things like, for instance, 100% offset accounts that go with that commercial property purchase in a self-managed super fund.
Yeah.
Every self-managed super fund that buys an investment in a commercial property has to retain some cash for liquidity.
Yeah.
Well, wouldn't it make sense to stick that in an offset account?
Yeah.
Absolutely. So we're seeing that the void that's been left has been taken up, but it's creating innovation, and I'm really liking that. I think that's an excellent way to.
And would that be defined as, like, I guess, what people would call it, second-tier banks doing that, or are some of the big boys doing that as well?
Probably people would think of it as a second-tier lender.
Yeah. Not necessarily that they are, it's just they're not necessarily one of the big four.
The connotation that goes with that is that they're way more expensive. And but the truth is, at the moment, they're mostly 3 to 4% lower than the back book of the banks because they're exiting this market, as in they're not actively pursuing new growth in that market. So they're also not...
Almost trying to price people out so they move on.
Or not price them out, but they're not being active in keeping their price low.
Yeah.
And so they're sort of drifting, and these guys are coming in really sharp because they're competing for that market.
Yeah.
But probably there's a big market of refinance sitting there that, if so, people could have a look at that. It's a big area that there's some value, but it's that specialisation that's interesting, and I'm pretty keen to see where else that goes. Yeah, because there's other gaps in the market. Like a classic is bank guarantees for performance. For, say, commercial builders. Yeah, and they have these performance and then retention guarantees they've got to provide on every job. Yeah, and one of the problems is, as they grow, is being able to support that with security. Yeah, gets to a point where they run out. Yeah, and so it kind of caps their growth out. Yeah, right. And so that's another gap that I see in the market that could be...
It's starting to see people come into that gap?
I haven't, no. Yeah, I'm just sort of...
Perceive the opportunity.
I think that's a good one. Don't know what the solution is. Yeah. But it's a good one if somebody was to find a way to hit that. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So I guess that's interesting. The other thing which has really come to my mind over the years is that the banks have already done this in the retail space, so the residential space, is they've forced everyone down a path of transactional banking rather than relationship banking. Yeah. And, back when I started in the high-risk lending, we used to do our own scoring manually. Yeah, right. So you'd do your credit score, there'd be all these questions you'd answer, and you'd go down and then you'd add it up, and if it got to over 25 or whatever the number was, it was a go, and if it was under, it wasn't. So obviously that was the start of that, but now there's no loans in Australia that are written in that residential and consumer space that aren't digitally scored.
Yeah, it just fits within a box, and you either fit the box or you don't.
And the banks have this rich history of probability of things going bad or going good, and so they're able to create some really sophisticated scoring models. Yeah. And then they can, the attraction of this is they can adjust that. So if they want to take on some more business, they just lower their score a little bit and then take on more. Or if they need to pull back a bit, they just raise their score and they're declining more. Yeah. And so that's how they're managing their delinquency rates and other things, right? Yeah. So that's been interesting, but I see that now really starting to take place in the commercial market. Yeah, wow. So once the commercial market still was very much relationship based. Yeah. And now I'm seeing them forcing that down a transactional path as well. And so your traditional commercial manager is now being, instead of looking after 50 clients, they're maybe looking after 150 and across a bigger regional area. Yeah. And so that has massive impacts for the people in business. Yeah.
Because not everything's so cut and dry in business lending too.
It's not. Yeah. And I guess you've got to make the decision. Do we want to be a fair weather bank, or are we just going to treat everything like a transaction and crunch it down? So it's an interesting space, and I'm watching it. I'm not happy about it because I'm a relationship guy. Yeah, yeah. And I'm sort of looking at it thinking this is a train wreck and this is going to end badly for everyone. Yep. But I guess I could be proven wrong, and
Yeah, or it even just opens up the opportunity, I guess, some of that, not necessarily private lending because the costs associated there, but people that want to come into that space too. especially in there, you've got the freedom in the brokerage space. You can kind of partner up and pick and choose guys that work in that space too.
Absolutely, and we're seeing that. Every deal in the last few months that we've priced, that it has under $1 million business-related exposure.
Yeah.
The Big Four haven't even got in the top 8. So,
wow.
Which says to me, without saying it out there in the market, it just says to me they're not interested in that scale, that size.
Yeah.
So maybe if you're over 3 million of business-related exposure, they might be more interested.
Yeah.
But I don't know any businesses that have over 3 million in business-related exposure who started big.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It doesn't really tend to start that way.
So kind of to me, the longer-term approach would be, let's get in now at the ground level, develop the relationship, and grow our business with our customers over the long term. But that doesn't appear to be the way it's being looked at.
No, it's logical, mate. It's too hard. Mate, that was fantastic. Thank you very much. I'm sure we'll do this again.
Absolutely.
Looking forward to watching Woods and Bauer Finance continue to grow and hang out many times.
Thanks, Grant. Much appreciated.
Appreciate it, mate.